Good evening, and thank you for watching Denver7. I'm Ann Trujillo.
And I'm Shannon Ogden. In May, we glimpsed the light at the end of the tunnel. Colorado's mask mandate had come to an end. The vaccinated didn't need them anymore. Experts recommended unvaccinated people keep wearing theirs.
Of course, they didn't. Masks disappeared when the mandate expired, and now, thanks in large part to the unvaccinated, masks are making a comeback.
The CDC recommends people living in these shaded counties wear a mask while inside offices, restaurants, gyms, and stores. That's the entire Denver metro.
And so far, the state is keeping mum on a mandate. Same for cities and counties.
Now, everyone else, though, has an opinion, and Denver7's Gary Brode heard several of them today.
It feels like only yesterday we were told the masks can come off, and we were throwing these things up in the air like it was graduation. But now with the new CDC recommendations, it feels like we're being told we have to go to summer school in order to get our diploma. Anger.
I hate masks.
Frustration.
Are we going to overreact again? That's kind of, I hope we don't.
Disappointment.
I feel like that's unfortunate.
We're all feeling something as the possibility of mask mandates creeps closer and closer.
I'm just like, do I have to go back to that? But I mean, if I have to, I have to, but I would prefer not to.
The CDC recommended this week everyone should wear masks indoors in high transmission areas.
I just don't think there's any real need that the government or the governing bodies, these cities need to get involved and say mask mandate for everybody.
No mask mandates have been put in place at the state or county levels yet in Colorado. Some businesses aren't waiting. Weather Vane Coffee in Denver is one of them.
Yeah, if we kind of nip it in the bud, we might have a better chance of getting through it quicker.
On Thursday, the owners reinstituted its old policy requiring customers to wear masks inside the coffee shop. They only have one sign up because they threw away the old ones nearly 3 months ago.
It was just trying to manifest the change. You know, we're not going to need these anymore.
The owners tell me they aren't too worried about the mask policy, believing not enough time has passed since the last mandate.
I don't think it should be that big of a deal.
It won't be a big deal for someone like Tara Gigmack. She never stopped wearing her mask.
I am, in a lot of instances, the only one wearing a mask.
She says she never felt comfortable when the mask came off, believing the numbers and the chance for transmission didn't add up.
I was actually kind of surprised that they even removed the mask mandate. To me personally, if you look at vaccination numbers, and if we're at about 50-60% overall, but 100% of people aren't wearing masks.
In Denver, Gary Brode, Denver7.
And look, some refuse to take this pandemic seriously from the start. Some will not get the vaccine no matter how effective it proves to be. Some believe it probably works and still can't be bothered to get it.
But what about everyone else? Well, the ones who stayed home for a year, who missed out on time with parents and grandparents and cousins and sisters and brothers and friends, the ones who did everything asked of them.
Earlier today, we spoke with Whitney Kearney, a licensed professional counselor with Health One. She says anger is understandable.
Really, it's been, predominantly in the last week that we've started to see some of these mandates change and feel this sense of regression as opposed to, the continual forward movement that we're all hoping for. I think we live in a culture, a society that really focuses on the positive, the good vibes only movement. And sometimes that's just not realistic, right? We have to honor what is right now. And so there's a really powerful message in that too. We can be frustrated and irritated and mad. And that's okay.
And tempting as it may be, we can't be angry all the time. McCarney recommends looking on the bright side of life, remembering we're certainly in much better shape today than we were a year ago.
The University of Denver will test every student for COVID at least twice during their first 2 weeks on campus. Unvaccinated students can expect to be tested even more often. They'll also be required to wear a mask while indoors or in large groups. Meanwhile, Denver School Board member Tay Anderson said today the DPS is still finalizing its mask requirement and will have a decision next week. Jeffco hasn't decided yet either. Douglas County will strongly recommend but not require masks.
And more than 1,000 COVID cases were confirmed in Colorado today. 368 people are in the hospital tonight with suspected or confirmed cases of the coronavirus. And based on recent figures from the state, we can strongly assume that roughly 95% of them were unvaccinated. Another 12 deaths were confirmed as well by coronavirus today. And recent numbers suggest between 93 and 97% were unvaccinated. And Dr. Mei Chu is professor of epidemiology with the Colorado School of Public Health. And we asked her today if numbers like these make her angry.
What we get distressed at is to see how many people have been lost and how many lives have been lost. I'm very sensitive to that. And I also feel like there are things that we should do that we're not. However, people who don't take the vaccine don't often, I've talked to any number of them, and I just go up the street and I just ask them, tell me about it. I want to hear what your reasons are. And I'm not trying to convince you to take it, but I want to learn why. And for a lot of them, they're just thinking about themselves. They're not really, at least the people I've talked to, they say, well, it doesn't affect me. It doesn't, I'm not the one you need to talk. You need to talk to that person.
3.3 million of the 5.7 million people living in Colorado have received at least one dose of the vaccine, and 3 million are considered fully vaccinated.
President Biden will require federal employees either get vaccinated or be tested regularly. They will also be held to additional masking and distancing standards. The Washington Post reports pushback, especially within federal law enforcement, is expected to be enormous. So how about it? Are you willing to wear a mask again, even without a mandate? Are you absolutely exhausted by all of this? Tell us about it with an email to 360@thedenverchannel.com. And if nothing else, we can commiserate together.
The latest census data shows 121,000 Coloradans are behind on their rent. A law professor at DU says numbers point to a potential eviction tsunami when the federal moratorium expires on Sunday. And here's what she meant by that.
And if you have an eviction, then people's credit is affected, right? Their ability to get another job and their ability to get another apartment to rent. And so it has pretty significant effects on them once an eviction is put on their record.
We're taking an in-depth and personal look at the eviction moratorium tonight on Denver7 News at 10. We hope you'll join us for that.
The Aurora police officer seen beating an unarmed man last Friday has now resigned. The move saves the department the trouble of firing him following the conclusion of an internal affairs investigation. John Halbert is charged with second-degree assault, felony menacing, and first-degree official misconduct. And his colleague, Francine Martinez, is charged with failure to intervene. She remains employed by the police department pending a review.
Larimer County deputies say they were in a shootout with a drunk driver overnight. Deputies were not hurt. The driver was taken to the hospital and is expected to be okay.
4 Colorado chicken executives have been indicted on accusations they fixed prices. Federal prosecutors say Jason McGuire, Timothy Stiller, Scott Tucker, and Justin Gay rigged bids to push out the competition. All 4 worked for Pilgrim's Pride. The Greeley-based company was fined $107 million after pleading guilty to price fixing in February. We've already stuffed 1,500 backpacks full of school supplies, and we are not finished yet.
$23 buys everything a student might need, and since 4 o'clock, you have donated more than $8,200 to the Salvation Army to help.
When parents go to the store to buy school supplies, they're going to be even more expensive than they've ever been. And so a lot of parents are going to have to struggle between making the decision to pay a bill, what they're going to eat, and we don't want them to have to make that decision between whether their kids are going to get new school supplies and, kind of those day-to-day decisions that they're going to have to make. So it's super easy. They can go to their local Salvation Army, wherever we're going to do a distribution site, and they can just pick up the backpacks for their kids, no questions asked.
Very nice. All right, so if you'd like to help, here's how you can do it. The call center is open until 6:30. The number to dial is 303-860-5482. And Denver7 Gives is going to add $5,000 to tonight's total, so we're hoping you'll still donate as well. And we'll be right back.